Out that this activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a grant from the Minnesota State Arts Board, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. It's nice to be in Minnesota for those kinds of things. I appreciate those guys. Yeah. And got one more here. The city of St. Peter, our lovely little city, they also have provided some funding to help promote the show. So this program is made possible with funds provided by the St. Peter Tourism and Visitors Bureau. All right, I've done what I needed to do. Please take this microphone away from me. Graham, where are you? We have Adrian Barnett coming up here, so let's take it away, Adrian.
So, first of all, man, can we just give it up for Eli? What a cool dude doing all this amazing stuff. Thanks for putting all this together, man. And the Minnesota Original Music Fest and like everything else that guy does in this community. Zim and I were just talking about that just a second ago. Like Eli makes me feel lazy, which is crazy. So that guy, so neat that he's here doing all this stuff. And speaking of that, I had a lot of time to think on, so I just drove up from Nashville. I went on tour with a different band. I went to Illinois, and then I went to Milwaukee for 2 nights, and then I came here. So I had a lot of time in the car, which I really enjoy, actually. I do a lot of songwriting in the car, believe it or not. But on this trip, I was just thinking about like this show and this community, like Mankato and St. Peter and New Ulm and just the southern Minnesota music scene. And while I was at U of I working on my doctorate, that community was really neat because everybody came together and supported each other. And it's kind of a rare thing. Nashville is not really like that. There's some really cool cats down there, but it's a little cliquey and can be super competitive and kind of petty. And I'm not going to say a bunch of bad things about it, but it's just, well, I guess I already did. So we're not recording this, are we? Shoot. Anyways, the point of this whole thing is while I was at U of I realized just how special that place was while I was there, and I'm grateful I did. And I've talked to so many people who I went to school with and professors after the fact, and all of us have talked about how while I was there, not because of me, but just I happened to be there at that time, it was just a really special place, and it's not quite the same as it was while I was there. So I feel grateful to have been a part of that. And I feel the same way about this area. Like there are just so many creative human beings in this region. People like Eli, people like Emily, people like Ann. I'm going to leave a bunch of people out. Like Grum, Willis, so many people. Like this is truly a special place for the arts. So it's so awesome that you are all here and you are all supporting all of this stuff. So I would just like to give you guys a round of applause because I love this place and it is a special spot. Yeah, it's truly unique. I've been all over this country and played so many places and talked to people from all different walks of life in the music scene and the art scene and everything else like that. And I mean, this place has a special place in my heart because I spent a lot of time here, but it's just so neat that what you guys are doing down here. It's really something special. So on that note, I am honored to be here. Thank you very much for showing up tonight and letting me talk and play a bunch of my music. This is going to be a little different than a typical gig for us. So I made a list of 19 tunes. Coincidentally, this band has been a band for 19 years this year, which is crazy. And I just happened to make a list of tunes, and it ended up being 19 tunes. I tried to narrow it down from all the stuff that we have. But if we play all these 19 tunes like we normally do, it's going to take 7 hours, and we're not going to keep people here for nearly that long. We're shooting for like 5.5 hours, so I hope you brought food. So when we got here, we narrowed it down to 13, and we're still working on this list. But we're going to shorten things up, and I'm going to share some stories about why I wrote all of this music. This is all original music, and I wrote it And I co-wrote it with Zim, a couple of these tunes that we did, and all these guys in the band. Justin's hiding back here, just so you guys know. Do you want to pull this further? But it's really been a pleasure to be a part of this band and just be able to play music that's in my head and have it come out and play with these guys. We had our longest rehearsal in like 10 years today, which was about 15 minutes. But it's really fun to just play music outside of a gig with these guys. It's a rare occasion for us. So I'm going to tell some stories about why I wrote these tunes, and we're going to play them. And if you guys have any questions about anything too, feel free to shout it out or ask us. This is participatory if you want to. It's not mandatory. All these guys have microphones as well. So if you have questions for them, feel free to ask them. All their mics are on. We did check them.
Mine's backstage.
So, yeah, that's just.
It's over here.
All right, so the first tune we're going to start with is one of the first songs that I ever wrote for like a jazz improvisational group setting. So I grew up playing in like punk rock bands and writing music for those kind of things. And then when I was in college, I just started exploring writing stuff more in like the jazz idiom. And the blues form is a major keystone of a form in that setting. And so I was like, I'm going to write a song just based on the blues, just to kind of experiment with some stuff. And I really liked it, and I played it at, I think I played it at my senior recital. It was way too long ago. I can't remember, but it's documented somewhere. But the night that I was going to debut this song, so it's called Arthur. My dad, Arthur Barnett, named it after him. There he is. We did this song at Patrick's a little while ago, and I introduced the song. And then my dad stood up and said, I'm still waiting for my royalties. You and me both, man. But so I wrote this. When I was writing this song, I just really liked the melody and the vibe of it. It was like, for some reason, it just reminded me of my dad. So like, I'm going to name it Arthur. I think it's very fitting. And so we played this at a concert at MSU, and Doug Snap was there. Doug Snap, man, love that guy as well, by the way. He was introducing the band and saying some stuff. And so I was like, well, we're going to play this song, and I'm going to shout it out to my dad and do all this, you know? And then Doug just kept talking and talking, which is absolutely fine. He had more important stuff to say. And so he was just kind of going on longer than I expected. So we're backstage, and I'm like, we're just going to hit it. Like, I'm not going to say anything. So we get up there, and we play the song. And I come to find out after the concert that my dad was not there. But it's not really his fault. So this is what happened. So my dad was a third grade teacher, and Nick was going to high school at the time. And they used to just, like, we lived right up the hill from the school. So during the school day, they would go home and have lunch. My dad made shrimp for lunch that day. Nick, what grade were you in? High school, though, yeah? Yeah, so Nick's in high school. Yeah, and they're just going home to have lunch like any normal school day. Apparently, that was the day that Nick developed an allergy to shellfish. And so the reason they weren't at the concert is because Nick had an allergic reaction and they were at the hospital. So it's a very understandable reason why he wasn't there. But it all worked out, because how embarrassing would that have been to be like, hey, I wrote this song for my dad, and the spotlight goes on and it's just like crickets and nobody's there. So I'm kind of... So, Nick, that's a bummer you have that allergy, but thanks a lot for looking out for me, even though you didn't realize it, you know? So, without further ado, this song is called Arthur. Johnny Moeller. Eric Zimmerman on the bass here. Justin Tellefson hiding back there. Ryan Rader. Thank you. Yeah, guys. Thank you very much. It's really hard for me to listen to these guys play and not have them stretch out like we normally do. So we're trying to behave ourselves in front of for this event here. But we were talking about this earlier. So like we'll play at Patrick's a lot. Which is great. I love that place. Like I was thinking about this in the car too. Sorry, I might ramble a little bit every now and again. But I'm going to segue off that earlier statement. So like places like the Art Center of St. Peter and then Patrick's. And I loved the Blue Boat when it was over in Mankato. I really missed that place. And the Grand over in New Ulm, that's just like another aspect of just how cool this community really is and how they're so supportive of art and music and just creative human beings. But when we play over at Patrick's, we'll do like 4 songs in our first hour set, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll do 3 more songs in the second set. and then take a break. And then sometimes in the last set, we'll do, like, most of the time we do 2 songs, but sometimes we just do 1 song, which is ridiculous. So it's like we end up playing 7 songs in 3 hours. So we're trying to be a little bit more concise for this event here, which I'm compensating for by just rambling about stuff. So it's all going to even out. There's a bowl full of oranges back there in case anybody gets hungry. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking about like, okay, I'm pretty much setting like 3 choruses, and then we're gonna improv for as long as we feel like we want to, or are you, and then this end is going to be this, and then a little bit. You guys trying to count along?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Or are you more structured? Like, well, okay, then it's gonna be guitar, and then this, and I want like you to have this much space to do a thing in this piece, and then being really intentional about it, or not. If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. So in this setting, we still don't really have like dictated solos or anything like that. Like I'll just kind of call things out as we go. But on a couple of these tunes, like we talked about it beforehand, just so they don't end up being like 20 minutes long. You know, a couple of them, it's like, I'm going to take the solo here, and then Zim is going to do, like, so this next song that we're going to do is called It's About Time. So the way this one is going to work is we have a little bit of an introduction, and then I'm going to play the melody, and then I'm going to take a solo, which follows the form of that song. So the last song we did is based on the 12-bar blues. So the form is 12 bars long. And on that one, I love writing songs where I don't have to count them off. So that one was just like, I'm just going to start this on baritone. And then, you know, we all kind of feel it out and feel the hits and everything. We go into the melody, and then we have solos, but the solos are never really just like a set amount of time. Like we'll follow that same form, or sometimes we'll substitute different chords and things like that and kind of explore it. But so the form is set, but how long that form lasts isn't typically set. If that makes sense. Yeah. And then we kind of have different ways of cueing each other or letting us know, like when we're going to the head, like what Ryan did on his drum solo was awesome. Like just left that space because he knows that we're going to go into that head and it's going to be really quiet. That's what we typically do. So the way that he kicked that off is like there's so much beauty in space, man.
I'll fill in plenty of notes. Like obnoxiously.
Yeah, we're all compensating in different ways, right? Yeah, but I just thought that was so neat, like just that little bit of space. And with this group, being that we've been together in various formations for about 19 years, and these are some of my closest friends, is like there's just such an amount of trust that's with this band. So it's really cool. Like I can bring in new music, crazy music, bad music, stuff that doesn't make sense, and they're always like, yeah, let's check it out, you know? And we all have each other's back when we're up here on stage. And we have a little secret code that I'm not going to share with you. But if anything goes like terribly train wreck wrong, we know how to get out of it. Hopefully. We'll find out. Yeah, Josh.
This is a composing question, I guess. And I'm coming from I'm writing songs that are lyrical based.
Yeah.
Okay, folk, you know, country, popular songs. So that type of songwriting is like, so the last song you mentioned was either about or like named after your father.
Yeah.
And so if I'm doing a song about my father, I would express feelings, experiences, memories through words.
Yeah, right.
And then the music I develop or the other musicians are playing, I would tell them, like, this is the mood I'm going for, and these are the words, and I want the music to support the storytelling through words.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what your, like, how in an instrumental piece where you have a melody, how are you thinking about telling that story if it is, for example, about your father or some other subject? I'm interested in storytelling through instrumental music.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I'm getting at versus what I'm doing, you know.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a really good question. And I feel like, I mean, even with songs that have words and lyrics and things like that, the thing one of the things I really love about music is that one song can mean 10,000 different things to 10,000 different people, you know? It's like finding that connection yourself. And I think it's potentially more difficult when you don't have words because you can't actually say like what you mean. But just the way that I felt that. So like when I wrote that song, it was just the vibe that I got when I wrote that melody. It was like, for me, it just made sense. It was like, boom, that's my dad. So that makes sense to me, you know? But it's hard to describe that in a concrete manner. It's more of an abstract way of thinking, I guess. And I think the same goes with like improvisation and solos and things like that. You know, like I wrote a song for my grandmother when she was ill, and every time I play that song, it just makes me feel a different thing versus like I wrote a song inspired by my nieces because they call Gatorade alligators. And that, like when I'm playing a solo over that, makes me think of different things versus like when I'm playing a song named after my dad or the song from my grandmother or a song that Zim and I wrote when we were drinking way too much wine and having a really fun time, you know? Like it's all different. So without the words, I don't know. I think there's maybe more of an interpretation to that, but still, in my humble opinion, I think songs that have words and lyrics are still open to interpretation. We're going to actually do a song that I'm going to sing, and it has words and everything else like that. And I was thinking about how to talk about that while I was here, because one thing that I like to do with songs that I write lyrics to, hey, what's up, Ollie? Good to see you, man. Is I kind of like the fact that it's open to interpretation, you know? Does that make sense, or did I just talk a lot and fill a bunch of space without answering any question? Okay. Yeah, I just, it's so abstract in my opinion, but it opens up so many things, you know, and I think that's part of the expression is, I mean, depending on whatever mood I'm in as well is going to affect how I improvise over things. So a lot of the music that I write for this group is really a vehicle for improvisation. We're just changing things a little bit in this setting so we don't go on and on and on, since it's more so about the stuff that's actually composed. But I think that's part of the beautiful thing about playing with this group. You know, we just get to open things up, and it's a little cathartic at times as well. Do you guys have anything you want to add to any of that? That's why Zim has been in this band for 19 years. He's always trying to keep his job. No, you nailed it, man. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, perfect. Thanks for the question, Josh. That's great, man. So, yeah, if anybody else has any questions at any time, just let us know, okay? We're happy to chat and answer those. So the next song we're going to play is called It's About Time. And this is one, so I'm trying to go chronologically in a way for the music that I've written and how it's evolved and things like that. So this is a song that I wrote. I had the melody. I don't know, it just came to me one day, and I used to just play it by myself all the time for like 2 or 3 years. I had this melody in my head that I couldn't get it out of my head. But I wasn't able to just like sit down and flesh out this song and make it into something. So it was a little bit frustrating for like 2 or 3 years. And Zim and I started playing music together, and we were starting to write music together. And I said, hey, I have this melody. I just can't figure out what to do with this and make it into a song. And we sat down one day, and this is the first song that we ever wrote together. And it's called It's About Time. And the reason I called it It's About Time is because it's about time I actually made it into a song. It took me that long to just like find the right chords and actually have it be what it is now. So without further ado, it's about time to play the song. Justin, you want to do it, man? Thank you, Eric Zimmerman on the bass and co-writer. All right, let's do Concoction Auction next. So this one is called Concoction Auction, which is a very silly name. The reason that it is called this, so there was a period of time in the midst of Zim and I drinking wine all the time and writing music and staying up way too late, where I decided it was probably good that I tried to do like a cleanse and get healthy for like 5 days. So I figured that would offset all the years of other bad habits and everything, right? I'm still here, so I must have done something. But so the idea with this cleanse was, it was like the first day you just eat raw fruits and vegetables and you can have fruit juice. And that's all you get. The next day you can just have like fruit juice or vegetable juice. The middle day you have to drink this concoction, which is a gallon of water and you squeeze a bunch of lemons in there and you put some cayenne pepper in there and I think maybe a little bit of maple syrup. The look on my brother's face. Yeah, it was wild. And that's all you get. That's all you get for that day. And so I wrote the song while having a fever dream on that weird homemade lemonade when I was starving. I was in the wind ensemble rehearsal room hanging out with a few other people that we were all attempting to do this thing for 5 days. And this was the day. This was the Notorious Wednesday, the homemade lemonade thing. And I just started playing this thing on the piano, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that groove. Maybe I'll turn it into a tune. And since I was drinking that concoction, my brain was fried because I didn't have enough food going on. So I'm like, auction rhymes with concoction. Let's call it that. And then it stuck. Like 19 years later, we're still calling it that. I haven't come up with anything better. But yeah, that's how this one is. This is Concoction Auction. And let's do that solely. So why don't we go, Justin, why don't you go first? We'll do the solely, you take a solo, and then I'll take it out. Okay? You just witnessed how our rehearsals go. Thank you. That's a good excuse for me to play the 2 chords that I know on the piano. So I guess along the lines of some of this stuff, I always think about these compositions more so as just like vehicles for me to tell stories or like why I wrote these things. But looking at it from more of an academic point of view, the A section is based on these 2 chords, C minor and then B major, which is quite the contrast because they really share like 0 notes in common, you know? But I thought it'd be kind of neat to take those 2 chords and put them together and see what could happen and keep it really rhythmic and have like that whole groove set right there. And then I was like, all right, so we need some kind of contrast in this situation. Because it could just be that groove the whole time, which is fine. But I was thinking, at the time too, I think we were playing this song called Killer Joe quite a bit, Benny Golson tune. And that tune has this cool B section where it's really floaty. So it's got this groove at the top for the A section, and then the B section goes into a different harmony, and it has this really cool floaty vibe to it. So I was like, maybe we need something there. So that's what we did for the B section, and we just have those hits rather than having that boom, that whole groove through the whole thing. Once we get to the B section, it just opens up, the harmony changes, and it has da, and just kind of floats through the whole thing, which is a really fun space to explore, and I think that works pretty well. If I don't say so, don't mind saying so myself. Like, way to go, buddy. No, I think that was a really good contrast in that tune, you know, because the groove always brings you back. But I think that's another thing as far as like this storytelling goes and things like that. Like you have this tension and release, and I think that's part of music is the tension and release, you know. So it kind of starts with this groove that's really easy to find, and then the B section can get pretty wild sometimes, depending on what we're doing on the gig and if we're stretching out and stuff like that. But that's the idea behind that one. And then it goes back to how it came, how it started. So it starts with the piano, then it goes into the groove, then it has the B section, then it goes back into that groove, and then it ends with that piano. So it's almost like an ambigram type of thing in a way. Or an A, B, C, B, A form, if you want to think about it like that. Right? Anybody familiar with sonata form? Rondo form? Al, do you remember any of this from music theory? Yeah.
Did you say Frank Sinatra form?
Frank Sinatra form.
Sinatra form?
Yeah, just give me some whiskey, man, and then call some tunes. I think most of the faculty at MSU has since retired since we have been in school, which is probably good because if they were here listening to me try to talk about music theory, classical stuff right now, they'd be like, oh, we have failed miserably. So on that note, I've kind of divided this stuff into eras as well. So this is the early stuff that I have written, and this next song that we're gonna do was inspired by George Costanza from Seinfeld. Do we have any Seinfeld fans out there? Yeah, all-time favorite show for me. So while I was writing this tune, and this tune has really morphed into different things. So the way that this tune came to be, we used to have a gig at McGough's. Does anybody remember McGough's in Mankato? Yeah, that's another place that I really, really miss. But we used to have like a Monday night residency down at McGough's. So we would go down there and we would play 3-hour gigs for free beer. Yeah, and it was so great because we would just read tunes out of real books and things like that, and we had a handful of tunes that we had written at the time, so we were playing our original stuff, and then we would just sight read stuff on that gig because when you're getting paid with free beer, your preparation doesn't really matter too much, you know? I mean, that's not true, but we were, you know. Anyway, it was a good vehicle for us to just... I'm trying to stay on point, man. It was a good vehicle for us to just practice sight reading, practice playing together, listening to each other. Like we did a workshop on communication and band synchronicity at the Minnesota Original Music Festival, and that's part of it, just like playing gigs for 3 hours, trying to figure it out together, dealing with all the train wrecks that happen, you know, and all the really cool moments that happen as well. And that's where this song was born. I wrote it right before we had to play the gig. So we were down there, we were setting up, and I had the idea for this tune, and I'd set up all my stuff, and the rest of the band was setting up, and I just sat down, and I hand wrote all the parts for the band right before we played. So while they were like finishing setting up, I was just like jotting down everything. I used to carry, I still do actually, carry just like a staff paper notebook with me, like everywhere I go. And luckily I had that there. So set up my stuff, jotted it down, figured out the melody, got it all written out, hand wrote the parts, chicken scratch, gave it to the guys, and I was like, hey, this is a tune that I just wrote. We're going to play it tonight. And we did. I don't remember how it went, but I know we played it that night. And then we kept playing it for a while. And this is one of those songs that I think is really fun because it's evolved so much over the years. So when I first wrote it, it was just this really fast bebop tune. And we just played it like lightning speed. I do remember that, like just playing it as fast as we could, which is really fun. But it's kind of chilled out since then. And for some reason, I was like, man, I think this tune would work a little bit better with like a New Orleans street beat type of vibe instead of just doing like really fast bebop. And so that's kind of where this ended up. So the title of this, getting back to George Costanza, the title of the song is called Velvet Suit. And for the hardcore Seinfeld fans out there, if you remember the episode, George, all he wanted to do was just drape himself. There we go, Michelle. Yeah, exactly. Just drape myself in velvet, right? He was dating that gal who said she didn't really care about appearances. And at first he was really mad because he's a shallow human being. And he was like, well, maybe that means I'm not attractive. And then he was like, man, I can do whatever I want. So he just ends up wearing a velvet suit, which I thought was awesome. And for some reason that popped into my head when I wrote this, probably because like I just wrote it, we have to play a gig. And I'm like, I need a name for this thing. And I was like, boom, velvet suit. Here we go. So this is Velvet Suit. Oh, yeah! Here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. How long did that last? Was that like 30 seconds or did it just feel like 30 seconds to me? That's like so fast. So, compositionally speaking, on this one, I was kind of loosely based on the blues. I'm a big fan of the blues. Just for some reason, I've found so much familiarity and possibility in that form, and I just keep exploring that in so many different ways. which is really fun for me. And I like to do this thing where I find something that's like kind of familiar and then just spin it on its head or just put in like a weird harmony or just take it somewhere that maybe you wouldn't expect. So this was initially kind of based on the blues form. And the A section is loosely inspired by that, we'll say. And again, I just thought about like, what can I do to contrast this thing? This is also like my meter changes era is what I call it. I like to just do things that were not in 4, or like have something that's in 4 and then just like put a bar 5 in there, or like 7, or just write the whole song in 7, or something like that. But I wanted to do it in a way where it's like you almost don't really notice, you know? I didn't ever want to be like, I just want to do like weird time changes just for the sake of it and have it all be like uncomfortable. I think that's part of the puzzle, is like trying to put that in there and making it happen in a way where it's like you don't really notice, or you're like, what was that? Or like, did they do that on purpose? And maybe we did, maybe we didn't. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. But so for the B section, I was like, here's a bar of 4, and then there's a bar of 2, and then like here's a bar of 4, and then there's another bar of 4. So like all these solo sections and stuff like that, sometimes you have 2 counts to play a little solo, for Ryan in this case. Sometimes it's 4, and then we have a few bars of 3, and then there's a bar of 5 in there. I'm sure you all know exactly right. Like, did you, Grum, were you following along? Did you, your bingo card, you checked off all those? Yeah, so all that stuff happened in there, but hopefully you didn't really notice. Did anybody notice? Josh, you didn't notice? Good. Thanks, man. Yeah, so that's like kind of the goal of that, you know? Like you can still just feel that pulse going through the whole thing, but maybe you don't notice all that stuff. So that's kind of part of like where my head was at with that. And then for the solo section, I was like, I don't want to just do maybe it'd be cool to just have a totally different solo section. And so everybody know the song, When the Saints Go Marching In? That's what the solo section is based on. I just took those chord changes and I was like, maybe we'll just do that because it has that New Orleans second line vibe, of course, you know? I thought that would fit really well. And then if that wasn't enough, I was like, maybe we'll put a key change in there. We'll do the solo section and then we'll just like have a key change happen. So what happens is we do the Saints changes and we have different, I shouldn't say differing. We all have different parts. Sometimes they line up, sometimes they don't. Actually, that's true depending on the edition of chart I've passed out. But with this one, we just have like different versions of this song. So that was the abbreviated version. There's another one where we do the Saints changes, as I call them, and then we do the B section of that song, and then when the solo ends with a different one, and then we'll go into a key change. Yada, yada, yada. Hey, there we go. All right, man. See, it all comes full circle. So anyway, that's the idea with Velvet Suit right there. And I just love like New Orleans second line stuff, man. That's just so much fun to play. So I figured that would fit nicely in that. Now we are going to move on to another era of my writing. So this song is called Worry Not. You guys cool to do that one next? Cool. And this is one of those songs that I just woke up at 4:30 in the morning one day, and I was like, I have to get out of bed and just write this down. It was a thing that, like, every now and again, I just get woken up in my sleep and my dreams with, like, ideas for music. Sometimes it's really fun, sometimes it's maddening, sometimes it's kind of both. But this was one of those things where I was up at 4:30 in the morning. I was like, oh, man, all right, I'm done sleeping. I'm figuring this out. And then I wrote it out in, I don't know how long. I mean, it was there. It was one of those cool things that just happened. Coincidentally, this happened when my grandmother was sick. And so everything was there. And then that was going on. And it just kind of like coincided in a beautiful way. And I was thinking about, like, well, what do I name this song? And I remember talking to my mom about this, and we were like, we had some suggestions and trying to figure this out. And she had a book that she had written about her life, and there was a line in there that said, just be good and do good. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, that might be the title of the song. I think that's such a neat thing. And then I thought about it more, and I was like, my grandma was just so laid back. She's not worried about any of this stuff. Like, she's dealing with all this stuff, and you would never know talking to her. She's like, I've never seen her stressed out, really, that I can remember. Such a cool woman. Her maiden name is Thor, too, which I think is just badass as well. But she just wasn't worried about anything. And I was like, worry not. That's just fitting. That's it. So this is Worry Not. Here we go. Don't worry about it, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, fellas. Yeah, that was one of those things that just happens sometimes. Sometimes the song just kind of hits you. Josh, has that ever happened for you, man? When you're writing songs, lyrics, words, all that stuff, and the song just kind of comes out of nowhere, and then it's yours? Yeah.
There have been times, but I did have a song a few years ago that came out of a dream, like fully formed. I woke up and I had to write it down because it was already done.
Yeah.
So thanks, brain.
Right? I know it's a blessing and a curse, right? Yeah, it's kind of amazing when that happens, but I completely understand that because as soon as it happens, you just got to go. You Grum?
I have a related question, actually.
Yeah, what's up?
So, how do you know when you're composing when to let like feeling versus like Dr. Brain take over? And also, it pertains to what you're saying because basically any song that I write really fast without as much thought into it tends to be the ones that are best received by the audience.
Sure.
So that, yeah, kind of related to what you're saying just now.
Man, I don't know. Let me just think about this for a second. My opinion on that, because I totally get that, man. I get way too over-analytical about things. And I'm like, well, this is an unconventional chord change. Shouldn't go to that. This doesn't work. But then my ears are just like, dude, this sounds good. Just use it, you know? So I try to lean into that a little bit. And I really tried to embrace like both of those worlds. Whereas like using the theory that I've picked up along the way from all those years of school and stuff like that, versus just feel, man. Like if something feels good, you kind of got to just check it out, you know? I think there's a lot to be said about that. And what you've witnessed, like the things that you write that just kind of come to you and you write them really quick, they seem to resonate with people a little bit more, you know? I think that's I mean, why do we listen to music? Yeah, exactly, man. Because music makes you feel something, right? It makes you feel happy, sad. It makes you connect with something. But why do we look at art? Similar thing, right? As far as I'm concerned, anyways, like we're checking all this stuff out to make you, like, help us feel something, or make sense of the world and all the madness and all that kind of stuff, you know? So that's like part of Josh waking up with the song in his dream and then writing it down, just like I've done as well. I think that's part of it, man. I think there's just so many different facets to that stuff. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. All this stuff is so subjective, you know what I mean? Like a song that I don't like could be somebody else's favorite song. A song that I think is incredible, somebody else might hear and be like, what the is that? You know what I mean? But that's part of the beauty of it all, just interpretation and all this stuff. So to me, it's very personal, you know? Love that question, man. Did that answer? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I completely understand that too, man. It's some of my favorite moments playing with really any band is just like when you get lost in that. You know, when you hit that flow state and you're just gone, and everything just seems to be like right there. You know, and you can explore stuff instead of doing the analytical thing. You know, because nobody wants to watch somebody else take a math test, right? So it's like, why are you going to do that on a stage? That's a great question, man. I'm glad we got to have this conversation, man. Grum, everybody. Good dude. Yeah. I got to stop breathing into the microphone. Sorry. What's your question?
And it's the way that we directly experience the physical world before it becomes too abstract up in the head. And so sound and frequencies and sound waves and different levels of frequencies, and they affect or they penetrate us, and they're absorbed by us in our body and brain, and you're playing the bigger sax there, and that it seems a little on the somber side of things. You know, you did play Worry Not, and there was kind of a little peppy kind of stuff, but the mood, the feeling, the sound waves, frequencies. Do you want to speak about frequencies or for a moment?
Yeah, sure. That is one hell of a question, man. Thanks for putting me on the spot. No, you're absolutely right. There's a thing. So in our Western way of thinking about music, we have the major scale, and the minor scale also comes out of the major scale. It's just a mode of the major scale, right? In other parts of the world, Middle Eastern music, I remember talking to one of my professors when I was working on my doctorate, and he brought somebody who is, I think from Iran, over and listened to a concert of just like Western classical music. And they got done, and he's like, what did you think about this? They're playing all these hits, you know? And he was like, it's all the same. It's the same song. And my professor was like, what? Because it's all based on major, minor modes, little variations of that stuff. But in Persian classical music, they have quarter tones. So in Western music, we have half tones, right? And I'm not going to turn this into there we go. I'm not going to turn this into a theory thing, but they just have a very different way of thinking about that stuff. So it resonates differently, right? So to us, some of it might sound like out of tune or like a wrong note or something like that. But it depends on like how you think and how you feel about music. Talking about frequencies and resonating as well. So getting back to the Western music, we typically tune to A440. So that is the frequency that A vibrates at, 440 hertz, right? In France, I don't know where that's coming from. You guys are hearing that too, right? Okay. Sorry, just go catatonic up here. And yeah, exactly. But in France, for instance, they typically tune to A441. So one of the companies that I work with, Van Doren, they make mouthpieces and they make a clarinet mouthpiece for the Americans, and it's tuned to 440. And they make one for the French, and that one is tuned to A441. There's also another frequency of A. I mean, there are a bunch of different frequencies of A. However, A432 is supposedly, yeah, there you go. You can feel it, man. No, there's a thing with A432. This resonates in us in a different way. It resonates in the universe in a different way. And yeah, Grum's, there you go, man. Do you want to get up here and do a demonstration? No, I'm just kidding. He's shaking back there. He's feeling the A432. But yeah, it's a thing, A432. And if you look at this, so they have done studies where they'll show different frequencies vibrating in water. And they make different shapes, symmetrical shapes. And if you look at the way that A432 vibrates in water, it is a much more peaceful formation, much more symmetrical, just vibrates, literally vibrates in a different way. And all this music is just vibrations, just like you were saying. It's all vibrations. And I think that we feel things differently within ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all sorts of things. Just think about like the color spectrum, you know? I don't know about you guys. There it is again. No, that's all good. Just want to make sure everybody's hearing that too. If you hear anything out there, just raise your hand, all right? So I don't feel like I'm losing my mind. What was I talking about? Yeah, so getting back to frequencies and how they vibrate with people, I think we feel them in different ways. That's my theory. I have done zero study of this, just so everybody knows. This is my theory. There's no research except for my personal life experience. But for instance, I know that we see colors in a different way, varying from individual to individual, and sometimes even within one individual. So I have asked this question to people before, and so far I've just been, nobody gets it. Nobody understands what I'm talking about. They think that I have an issue, which could be the case. It doesn't matter. We're not here for that. But my eyes see colors differently. So my left eye sees things with a little bit more blue to them. My right eye sees things with a little bit more brown to them. Does anybody else have that, or should I go? You guys hear that too, right? No, I don't hear anything this time. Yeah, that's a thing. Like, I've just dealt with that. I remember, I don't know how I discovered that, but one day I was like, oh, this one sees something different than this one. And I asked somebody, I was like, do your eyes, well, I asked it in a terrible way. I go, do your eyes see different colors? And they go, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to ask a better question. But then I got into it, and I told them what I was experiencing, and they were like, they do not have that. But I do, which is just, that's why I have that theory, that everybody sees something in a different way. And if we're seeing things in slightly different ways, we're probably feeling things in different ways as well, you know? Because our bodies are different shapes. Like, my body resonates. When I play the baritone saxophone, the instrument itself vibrates. Myself also vibrates, just like when you sing, right? Your body vibrates. It's part of your instrument. So I think all of our bodies vibrate in different ways, and I think things resonate within us in different ways. So again, that just goes to, again, no study on this stuff. I haven't published any of this stuff. I am a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. But that's my thought on that stuff. So I think like all the vibrations and all that is just, it's profound and infinitely amazing. And that's what helps make art and music just so personal. Does that answer your question? Yeah, that's a good start. How much more time you got, man? I'll keep going. No, I want to... The 13 hours. I appreciate that question. Very good. Speaking of appreciating things, this next song is called Appreciate Ya. And the reason that I called it Appreciate Ya, so I live in Nashville, Tennessee now. I moved to Illinois for a little while, then I came back to Minnesota, and then I moved down to Nashville. Nashville, Tennessee is very different than St. Peter, Minnesota, or Mankato, Minnesota. And the South is just like a different vibe than the North, you know? Not good or bad, just different. And it was fun for me to witness the different things down there. So I would, there we go. I knew he wasn't waving at me. Yeah, but I moved out to Nashville, and I was just like, I held the door for somebody, and someone just goes, appreciate you. Oh, that's charming, you know? I really liked that. So I was like, appreciate you. So now it's one of those things that I just kind of like picked up, so I'll say that every now and again. And for some reason, when I wrote this song, I was like, appreciate you. That's going to be the title of the tune. So this one's appreciate you. And there's another thing that I like to do compositionally, and maybe it's just because I'm lazy, but I don't like counting off tunes. I always think it's just so cool when I can do as little work as possible. No, I'm just kidding. When you don't have to count off a tune, you know, and it's just like right there. There's something neat about that. So like Arthur kicks off that way, which I really like. Concoction Auction is the same kind of thing. And so this one, I don't have to count off either. Eric Zimmerman on the bass. Yeah. That's one that we hadn't played in quite a while, but it's fun to bust out every now and again. Does anybody have any guesses as to what time signature that one was in? Yeah, 3/4, so 6/4 is what I was thinking. But yeah, 3/4, absolutely. Yeah, and so that's 6 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've tried to count and clap that at the same time, and I can't do it. So, but that's what that is right there. So, what? Can you Zim? All right, Zim. We're gonna do. You're gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over and over and over and over and over. Okay, whenever you want.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1.
Yeah. Eric Zimmerman again, everybody. Does that help at all, Grum, or it doesn't matter? Does it kind of make sense though? So that was the idea with that too. Is like I wanted to just like start a tune with the clap, but not like the 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? Or just like on 2 and 4 is like, how can I figure out a way to do that and have it still make sense? Ollie got it right away, man. This guy was over here just like, you're in the band now, dude. That was great. I think that the trickiest part about that song, so it has a really unconventional form and like unconventional chord changes too. I just took everything that I knew and just like threw it out the window and wanted to do something a little bit different, you know. It stays in 6/4 the entire time, but the worst part is Zim having to play that bass line. The way that lines up, bop, got, dot, dot. It's like putting 4 over 6, but in a really bizarre way. So sorry about that one. But you do a great job, man.
There's no 1 anywhere when you clap.
I know, exactly. So, yeah, that's the other thing with the clapping. Like, there's no 1. It doesn't start right on the downbeat. It starts on the and of 1, and it's all just like a whole bunch of offbeats and everything, too. So, which I think is really fun, just like the silence of that 1, you know? I think it's fun. I don't know if anybody else up here thinks it's fun.
And then I try to mess it up.
Yeah, and then Justin.
It's like a 12/8, like a 6/8 or 12/8, like straight ahead. But the way that it fits into that weird, like the weird 6/4 pattern that makes what I'm playing sound funky, even though it's just the most straight ahead thing you can possibly play.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a good time up here. Let's see. It's already 8:25. So we need to get cruising. What do you guys want to do? You want to do alligator? Yeah. Let's do alligator. All right. So we are going to jump to a tune called Alligator, which is I wrote for my nieces because that's what they call Gatorade. And I just... What's that, dude? Yeah, man. And the thing with this, I just thought that was so funny, and it just like when I wrote it, kind of reminded me of them. It's got like a fun feel to it. And there was one time I was heading up to our family vacation, and I bought them some inflatable water toys for the lake because we were going to hang out and everything, and I had hid them in my car, so there's no way that we could see them. One of them was an inflatable alligator. I didn't realize that I left a bunch of Gatorade like out in the car as well. So they were being adorable and like coming to say hey and help me unpack the car. And I opened the door, and maybe it was Amelia. She goes, "Oh, alligator!" And I was like, "How did you see that?" It's all hidden and everything. Little did I know she was talking about the Gatorade. So I felt bad. I was like, "Oh, you spoiled your birthday present." But you know, she was happier with the Gatorade than the alligator anyway, I think. But anyway, that's another one of those things of just like writing things, you know, just like what is going to inspire me for the title of that kind of stuff, you know. And that one, this is inspired by my nieces. This one's called Alligator. 2, 3, 4. on the bass. Ollie, your dad is ripping it, man. Justin Tullifson over here on the Malacats and the keys and the conga. And Eric Zimmerman over there on the bass. We also have Johnny Moeller back there. One of the most in-demand dudes that I know. Johnny, what were you were playing at a fashion show earlier, right? Yeah. This guy. Yeah, you look good. This guy is so in demand. You know what's also crazy too? Like I was just playing over in Milwaukee and I ran into Molly Fisher, who is an MSU grad as well. We did a lot of theater shows and stuff together, which was crazy to see her over there. She was also performing in the area and she was asking about the band and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, this person is like knows everybody. And Johnny Moeller, she's like, oh yeah, Johnny's in like 5 of my groups. You know, Johnny's in. So if you start a band, I don't know. I think you have to actually have Jonathan Moeller in your band if you start a band in Mankato. I think that's part of the thing. You got to go down to City Hall and be like, petition to start a band. And they're like, all right, we'll talk to Johnny first. If he's available, then you can start a band. If he's not, then come back next year and try it again. Ryan Rader back here on the drums. Feel very fortunate to call these people my friends and be able to play music with them as often as I get to. And it's really cool to be still thought of as part of this musical community in Mankato. I know I moved to Illinois, and then I came back, and then I moved away from Minnesota again, and now I live in Nashville, and it's great to still be, you know, in my mind anyway, I feel like I'm still involved with this musical community. You know, for those of you who don't know who I am and you're wondering why the hell I'm up here, my name's Adrian Barnett. I used to live up in Minnesota, but I want to thank Eli again for doing all this stuff with Minnesota Original Music Fest and for having us here. Everybody involved in that. What a great place to be and play music. So we just have a couple more for you. What we're going to do is we played a lot of tunes that haven't really been like documented yet or recorded or things like that. So we're going to continue in this vein. So I have this project I call Lakeside Effects, which I have an album that's coming out on Friday, which is pretty exciting. Thank you. Yeah, the new album from Lakeside Effects comes out on Friday. Pre-sale is happening right now. I have advanced copies of it. Luckily, it came the day before I had to get on the road. So I have a box of CDs. If anybody still knows what CDs are and likes to use them for musical purposes or resting your beverage on or whatever else you want to do with it, you know, You can call it the shortest book in the world, too, whatever you want to do. But I have CDs here. If you're interested in any of those, this song is not on that record. So in the interest of being the worst promoter ever, I just put out a new CD. This one's not on it. Check it out, though. The CD's great. No, just in the interest of like playing music that you won't get to hear, you know. This one has yet to be released, but this is part of that Lakeside Effects project, which Eli was cool enough to let me bring Lakeside Effects to Minnesota Original Music Festival this year, which was really fun to play that. And then I closed it out with these guys, which was outstanding. So this one, A Destination Unknown, this one is called Destination Unknown. This does have lyrics to it, but for the sake of time, I'm not really going to get into how the song, what it means and what the inspiration is. Feel free to ask me about it if you would like. But the other thing that I think is really neat about music, like I was saying before, is 10,000 people can listen to the same song and feel 10,000 different things. So rather than taint your opinion of what you think the song might be about, you can just kind of see if it does anything for you. And if it doesn't, just forget this ever happened. My sails were intact, and I could see the X on the map. Now my vision's getting blurry. Looks like the compass is cracked. The sails are torn and caught up in the mast. Should I start to feel worried? What's my plan of attack? I'm so far out, there's no turning back. But I can see land on the distant horizon. So it seems though that I gotta keep trying. Destination unknown. I keep sailing on to the destination unknown. Well, I've been losing track of time now. Feels like I'm losing my mind, but I keep telling myself everything's fine. I don't know if I should climb down. I've been living up here in a crow's nest, looking for the best, but I navigate the tide. Should I try to find a way out, or keep on chasing this ever-changing fascination that's racing through my mind? Like the exit, left my home for an island, riding out the waves as the tide keeps rising. I keep sailing on to the destination unknown. I keep sailing on to the destination unknown. right, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Destination Unknown by Lakeside Effects, now by the Questet. We played that song once before. That was today. And I think they did a great job. How about a round of applause for the Questet here, man? Eric Zimmerman, Johnny, Justin Heidenbeck here, Ryan Rader. Man, these guys are so much fun to play with. Like I said, if you want to ask me anything about that song or anything else, feel free to chat me, hit me up afterward. I got some merch and stuff over here, CDs, T-shirts, stickers, koozies. And Eric Zimmerman also has his CD here. Every time we play a gig, I'm like, Zim, bring your CDs, man. People want them. There we go. And he's like, all right. And then he doesn't. And then, so now he finally did. I texted him a little before we were supposed to be over here. And I was like, hey, man, bring your CDs. Just a real quick anecdote here. So we're playing Minnesota Original Music Festival, and we're all there. We're all early, ahead of time, ready to rock and roll. And I'm like, where's Zim? Zim knows about this gig for sure. And so it's getting to the point where, like, we're setting the stage. We're about to go on. We need everybody here, right? So I give Zim a call. He's like, hey, man. Hey, buddy. How's it going? I'm doing okay. And it's like, good. Like, we're setting the stage right now. And he's like, yeah. Like, where are you at? He's like, like 5 minutes away. All right, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that you're okay and everything's good. And he goes, I'm doing great, man. And he made it on time, and it was super fun. But I just thought that was so good.
The one thing I want to say about this story is the band after us had a band member not show up, and I thought that was gonna like erase that this ever happened. Like no one was ever gonna talk about me like being late because only 2 of the 3 of them showed up. But sorry, man.
That's true. No,
Sorry.
that's a really good point. I'm not even mad though. That's the thing. I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, I just want to make sure you're okay. And he's like, I'm great, man. Oh, gosh. Well, we have one more song for you. Thank you again so much for hanging out and sharing your time with us. This song is called A Scapegoat. So a real quick note compositionally about this thing. There's a term, a music theory term, which is called an escape tone. So there's an escape tone and there's an appoggiatura. An appoggiatura is when you approach something, you go from a chord tone, you do a leap to a non-chord tone, and then you go to the chord tone. Everybody with me so far? None of this matters. But an escape tone is similar but kind of opposite. So you approach the chord tone by a non-chord tone with a step, and then you leave it with a leap, right? So those half steps that I was talking about earlier, everybody, this is a great way to just end this whole thing. Everybody's eyes are glazed over. Like, what is he talking about? He was talking about goats for a second, and now he's talking about steps and stuff. Yeah, but that was like kind of the inspiration with this, you know, like an escape tone. And I was like, a scapegoat instead of scapegoat. I was like, a scapegoat. And some people think that I don't know English very well, which is, you know, probably not entirely untrue. But I did call this a scapegoat on purpose. And it starts with a leap from a non-chord tone to a chord tone, followed by, a step. That's an appoggiatura. Did we all pass the quiz? So yeah, that's what all this stuff is about. I'm done. Thank you so much for having us. Come say hey afterward. All right, let's go fast on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you so much. Ryan Rader on the drums. Eric Zimmerman on the bass. Johnny Moeller on the guitar. Justin Tullifson back here on all this fun stuff. My name's Adrian. Thank you again so much for sharing your time with me. It's awesome to see you all. Feel free to come and say, hey, thank you, thank you, thank you. Eli, man, the guy who makes all this stuff happen. He's got donations for the Minnesota Original Music Fest. Thank you all so much.